morning video, going into the theoretical perspectives page. Wanted to just openly talk about what I'm thinking in terms of our communities, our children, the way that they're developing. I truly believe that our children are being overdiagnosed and misdiagnosed with ADHD. That's not, like I said, something new. In the mental health field, they know that there is a misdiagnosis and an overdiagnosis of certain children who are being diagnosed. And we saw a rise in those numbers starting in 2007. I'm going to keep the abridged version here because I'm trying to get into work this morning. But this rise came after a push to start diagnosing children within the school system, to refer them, in other words, to refer them for services for a diagnosis. What I actually think that our children are dealing with is more on the lines of a post-traumatic stress syndrome. And as I was driving in today, I really started thinking about that. Post-traumatic stress disorder implies that it's no longer happening. And I really think I'll have to reframe the way that I'm presenting my argument, because I think that racism is a huge part of why our children respond the way that they do in school, how it affects them in their decisions, their behavior, a lot of that. So I think it's more of a complex trauma disorder, because it's multiple events of racism that continue to happen. And not only that, children who are overexposed to violence in violent communities, or overexposed to violence in the media, where they're seeing over and over again black men, Latino men, black women, black children being shot down in the streets. When they see that over and over again, and they get to witness their parents being mistreated, they get to witness other people who look like them being mistreated, it sets up a certain mindset. So I'm going to be exploring that in my analysis and in my arguments, and eventually my dissertation, because I believe that our children are dealing with a traumatic experience that's associated with racism, and also with overexposure to violence. Now, you have to ask yourself why racism isn't in the DSM as one of the as a traumatic event. I really ask myself that, because that is a very traumatic experience. And I think when you haven't experienced racism, you don't know what it feels like. And because you don't know what it feels like, you don't consider it to be traumatic. That's something I have to challenge and see, what is it that we can do to actually see ourselves in the DSM in a way where it's not, oh, but they're schizophrenic. Because a lot of black men were diagnosed as being schizophrenic, and we know that that was also an overdiagnosis. I try to look at mental health from the wellness perspective, rather than it being you have a mental health problem, or you have you're psychotic. Some people are dealing with behaviors as a response to stimuli, as a response to environment, as a response to other behavior. So that's what I'll be looking at. Keep following me.